Alright, so now we're going to create a sound loop for our little ad here. I'm going to choose File, Open, up at the top, and choose the awesome Madonna tune. So we'll open that up, and as you can see, there's the wave. And essentially we want to just get a loopable piece of audio, meaning that once the audio is done, it can loop back to the beginning and sound seamless. So if I fast forward a little bit here and press play, alright, so the beat starts coming in. We could probably loop that little section here. It essentially starts where it began. Alright, so the beginning is pretty easy to find. If I zoom up on that wave, you can kind of see a peak here. So chances are that's where something begins. So I'm going to put my playhead there and scroll down to the bottom and choose the set in point. And so it's going to set in at that point. So it looks like it's the beginning of the next loop here. So if we go ahead and play it. So right about there. So I'm going to scroll down here and just set my out point. And if you look, we've got this loop playback button selected. So that should loop whatever we've got our in and out points set. So I'm going to just press play here. Look, we can see the whole thing up at the top. Kind of lucked out. Got it all in one first try.
You should note that at any time you can go and adjust those in and out points so the loop sounds seamless.
So once that's set, we can go down here to Tasks, this Task tab. If it's not open, you can just go Window Tasks, and that'll open up that palette. There's some set in and set out points if you want to do it through here, or if you're doing a more sophisticated loop. There's some settings here, but essentially we've set our in and out points. So now we just want to save that section as a file. So I'm going to choose Save Loop As, and I'm going to name it Lucky Star Loop. Under the formats, we essentially have two uncompressed format file types, WAV or an AIF. Now WAV is more universal because it's for PC, but Mac plays it as well, and AIF is pretty much limited to the Mac. So I'm going to go waveform.wav and choose Save. Sample rate 44100 is CD quality, so we don't really have to go higher than that. And 16-bit is also higher CD quality, so that's a good format to work under. So sample rate 44100, sample type 16-bit is fine, and we'll say OK. So now we've got just this file by itself, and as you can see, it says Lucky Star Loop.wav. So we've saved that as its own file. So this should just loop to infinity if we wanted it to. And who doesn't? Now that we've got our loop completed, we want to be able to compile the audio that was recorded for the spot and the music and some other things. So we want something called a multi-tracked file to compile that in. So I'm going to go up here to Files and create a new multi-track file. And as you can see, it says Audio 1 here. And I'm just going to drag my Lucky Star loop to that, because that's going to be our music for our ad. So now that it has audio in it, it'll let me save it. So I'll say File, Save As, and I'll name this 80s radio spot. And I've got a couple of ones I'm working on, but yours will just be 80s radio spot, and you'll say Save. Alright, so it's saved and it's got our reference to our loop. We need 30 seconds worth of audio, so I'm just going to make this loop 30 seconds long. So I'm just going to click the clip and press Apple C and then Apple V, or I can say copy paste from the main menu, and I'm going to do that 4 times. So that's the third and the 4th time. So actually I did that 3 times, but I needed 4 clips. So that's about 30 seconds if we look up here. Now you can trim that audio just like you would footage in Premiere. So I'm going to make that 30 seconds. Now I want to fade these in and fade them out. If you look, there's these handy little fade in boxes. And you can fade in a couple of ways. If you just drag right to left, it'll just fade in equally, an equal amount of time from quiet to loud. If you pull down instead of just right to left, pull right and down, it'll give you a curve in terms of how fast that's going to get loud. So it's going to be quiet and then get to full volume pretty quickly. So that's kind of there's a velocity to how fast that's moving volumes. So I'm going to do that same. I'm just going to move to the left and down, and it should fade in for us. So it did indeed. Alright, got that set up. So now that that's set up, I want to start adding my vocal audio that I recorded previously. Go up here to the Files browser, and I want to add some new files. So Import File button right here at the top, and I'm just going to choose all these Bananagramas 1 through 6. So that's all my voice audio, and I'll say OK, and if I look, it's included in here. So now I can edit that audio. So I'm just gonna double click it for a second to open up trimming that file. Can be done, and you can do this right within the file. You don't have to do it in the editor. So I might go in and just trim these down a bit.
You should note that this process is permanent, so it's not something you can go back and undo. If you don't want it to be permanent, you should drag the file to your multi-track file, then trim it much like you do in Premiere.